Scientists estimate dinosaurs last roamed the Earth about 66 million years ago. But this holiday weekend, they're back, at least in theaters. ABC 10's Mark S has more on the rebirth of a Jurassic-sized franchise.
Good morning, sir. You know, if you ever wondered, could this really happen? Is this a bunch of Hollywood hooey? If you go back to the first Jurassic Park or even the Crichton book, there's an evil scientist, Dr. Henry Wu. Well, believe it or not, that company that he's created, a company just like that, Colossal Biosciences, exists in real life. Beth and Ben are real scientists, considered the nation, or rather the world's leading experts on it. And I caught up with them and I said, you know, they said, if not for being evil, we're exactly like that guy. And I said, really? Listen.
All right, you brought it up, so I'm going to go ahead and ask, are we, should we fear that you're going to go evil? Like, how do we know you're going to be okay?
I don't know, it depends on the morning. Sometimes if I know.
How much of it were you going, yes, this is absolutely possible, and how much of it you were saying, yeah, it's not going to go down like that?
Mostly saying no to dinosaurs. I worked in the field of ancient DNA since the very beginning. My whole field was actually part of the inspiration for writing the first book, Jurassic Park. Michael Crichton cites the Extinct Species Study Group at Berkeley for giving him the idea for writing Jurassic Park. They'd gotten DNA from the museum-preserved skin of a type of zebra called a quagga. And so I spent my whole career being asked whether this was Jurassic Park. And I did try on several occasions to extract DNA from mosquitoes and other insects preserved in amber.
That was not a colossal...
It was me as an academic.
Saying
it was
before not a colossal sanctioned project.
But it's just, that isn't going to happen. Amber is it's very hot and porous. It's terrible for DNA preservation.
I love that you go all the way back to the preserved mosquito, the very genesis of this movie. You're saying, yeah, it would never happen.
Of course.
From the get-go.
What's interesting is like the same technologies that they talk about in the movies, right? Like we use to take a 73,000-year-old skull and a 12,000-year-old tooth and make puppies earlier this year, right? And so the technologies for ancient DNA extraction, for comparative genomics, genome engineering, and cloning are now here. And that's one of the things that, you know, I think we've done a good job of perfecting at Colossal, but you just don't have that ancient DNA that goes back 65 million years for dinosaurs.
My only takeaway from that, they're cloning prehistoric puppies. And my thought is, I want a prehistoric puppy. Where do I get one of those? All right, we'll table that for a moment. Let's talk about Scarlett Johansson. Chris Pratt is not in this movie. The heavyweight headliner is Scarlett Johansson. And I said, what do you think of these dinosaurs?
They're like the stuff of nightmares. I actually think they're almost too scary. And yeah, they're just... I think they're going to blow everybody's minds. I mean, that's certainly when you ask, like, what have we not seen before? The dinosaurs in this film are like nothing you've ever seen before.
Maybe we should make this quick, huh? Time to move.
I love that scene. I love every scene in this movie. The thrills are there. I watched it with an audience that literally screamed in unison, swayed in unison, and applauded at the end of the movie. Yes, it's that good. See it on a big screen. Hey, speaking of Chris Pratt, I did my own excavating and dug up an ancient prehistoric interview I did with him on a role that would change his Jurassic life. So coming up in the 7, we're going to talk about that. Any questions? Yes, you in the front row.
Yes, I am in the front row for the question. So when they're acting like Scarlett Johansson and there's dinosaurs, the dinosaurs are not there when they're doing their lines. So that's all added in CG later on, right?
Yes and no. Like there was a lot of CG in here, but there's this Hollywood guy, a titan in the industry named Stan Winston that created a lot of robotic effects. Okay. And so a lot of this are, if you will, the most complicated puppets you've ever seen that are quite convincing.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Mark S. a little inside Hollywood there. Thank you, sir.